Welcome to the InterViews podcast.
Prima attenzione, Bobo anticipato, palla vagante, mette giù, recoba, il tiro,
Welcome, Interisti, to episode 168 of the InterViews podcast, the official podcast of SempreInter.com. We are here for the post-match reaction of Inter Fiorentina, our first game at home in 25 days. It feels like it's been forever. Game finishes 3-0 to the host. Goals from, let me just pull up the fob up here so I have the times. Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the 66th minute. Petar Sucic with his first goal for Inter in the 71st minute in the league, and Hakan again in the 88th minute. As always, I am one half of your co-hosting duo, Alessandro Rafa. Today, special episode. We are joined here by the co-host of the Inter Extra podcast, Sean at Nerazzurri Pirlo on Twitter. Sean, thanks for jumping on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to finally make an appearance. I just can't wait to hear Johnny's reaction to actually getting me on the pod. I don't know if he's gonna be seething or if he's gonna enjoy it a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what the reaction is.
It's a tough episode for Johnny specifically to be missing, given the magic that we saw from Petar Sucic today. I know he's gonna, he's gonna be ecstatic about that, but he's dealing with some stuff he's got to deal with. So, who better to have on than worlds colliding here? Inter Extra and
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say that I feel like I'm gonna fill in well for Johnny. I do have that Mkhitaryan hatred that he's got. I do love Petar Sucic. You know, I'm gonna try and do my best. But yeah. Well, it'll be good. It'll be good.
It will be. I mean, this game definitely has given us plenty to talk about. As you guys know, InterViews is the place for the post-match reaction. Inter Extra is the place for the news and notes throughout the week. Obviously, around this club since the Napoli results, there's been a lot that's been going on. An absolute tragedy that occurred involving Josep Martinez. Where an elderly man was lost his life in a tragic accident, and that had the potential to really seep into today's game. I was worried about it. I don't know, I don't know your thoughts on the whole situation, but I was worried that, especially coming out of the Napoli result, and then something like this happens, that vibe. This is more than just vibes, right? We're talking about a human life, but the reality is that they're human beings. They're stepping on the pitch to do a job, and under certain circumstances, it is very difficult. So we have that setting the stage for the game, and then we've got Bisek first, big test at center back against Moise Kean. You have Sucic filling in for Mkhitaryan. Kivu makes him, the choice to go to now that Mkhitaryan is out for a little bit of time. And then you've got Pio partnering Lautaro up top. So a lot going on around this club heading into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, thoughts and prayers out for that man and his family. It is just tragic. Patrick Hendrick mentioned it during the game, that the Inter medical team and psychologists are going to be paying close attention to Pep Martinez. And I think that's good to give him some of that attention, because he's going to need to be supported, because my understanding is that it is just an accident. So it's just tragic. But it is good to see maybe this team kind of, gave him a little bit of joy. He was able to watch this team at home and see the win that we got. And those 3 changes, especially, we saw some good things from those 3 changes. I think this is actually Bisek's first ever start at center back. He's played there before, but this is his first start.
pretty big call from Kivu to do that in a game where I had tweeted, like, I don't think a lot of people had circled this one as like one of the biggest games of the season, but given the circumstances around the club recently, there's no shying away from it. This was a must win. You can't let things spiral. So it's a pretty big call for him to do that in a game of this magnitude. And then on top of that, against Moise Kean, who Fiorentina struggled. I don't think he's having personally his best season. But if you take away what he's been doing, what's been going on with his club for country, he's been on fire. And he's still, the Moise Kean that we saw last season. So that was a huge call to make. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this game. First half, let's be honest here. Terrible conditions. Terrible conditions. And that first half was dominance from Inter, but in the final third, just not clicking. Just the screw is just a little bit loose as far as connecting on that final pass to set the goals up. Some miscommunications between Pio and Lautaro and the rest of the gang outside the box. And that had the nerves going. And then in the second half, I think let's start with the potentially biggest storyline coming out of this game. Not once, but twice. Pio is absolutely mugged. And there's no call for the ref to go to the VAR. There's no call to take a look at it. I don't want to show the video because I don't want to get us, struck down here from being able to post the episode on YouTube. But give me your feelings on what's happened with Inter and the referees in these last two specific incidents, and what was your take on that play? Was it a penalty?
Yeah, that's absolutely a penalty. And if anyone wants to know, it is the 53rd to the 55th minute. Right in there is when this incident happens. So if you want to go watch it yourself, that's the exact moment it happens. Yeah, that's a penalty for me. And I think not so much just because of the contact and not even just the arm around Pio's neck, but actually because Camuzzo's not even playing the ball. Like, that's the most important factor to that being a penalty for me, because Gozens goes for the ball, but he doesn't get there until after Camuzzo's just trying to take down Pio. Not playing the ball. It's not a footballing move. It's just a rugby tackle. It is just contact in the area, and he's not even trying to move his feet. He's not trying to defend. So it's a penalty for me. I know there's going to be people that are going to try and say that it's not one. And I think the biggest mistake there, even if you don't want to give it, the biggest mistake was not going to the monitor and looking at it. Again, a failure of the VAR protocol, in my opinion. Like,
the VAR has to prompt the referee to go. He can't say, I want to take a look at it. The VAR has to prompt him to go take a look at it. Isn't there shades of Bisek against Roma? That penalty that there's no desire to go take a look. They're so sure in the VAR booth that an arm draped around Pio's neck is not enough contact for there to be a review. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, actually. We like that they're so sure in the VAR booth, because that is them making a decision, right? They should be saying, did you see this? Did you see the arm around the neck? The ref then says yes or no. If he says no, they should say, go take a look. Not, oh, well, we don't think it's a penalty. We saw it. We don't think it's a penalty. Don't worry about it. Like, once you've started that VAR check, you're supposed to ask the ref what's happening and if he saw it, and then he goes and checks it. VAR is not supposed to be making decisions except for offside calls or like goal line calls and things like that, So I feel like that's exactly what's happening. They're making calls, in the VAR booth, which is infuriating. It's so annoying. Yeah,
it's scandalous, frankly, and there's a couple different angles to this, and I don't want to spend too much time on the referees, but the fact of the matter is when you have consecutive games where two game-changing potentially calls go against a team that is competing for the Scudetto, and every point is valuable here, it is scandalous. And I think you have one angle of, are these refs being conditioned by the words of, let's say, an Antonio Conte, and two, Rocky came out, the head of the AIA, the Referees Association, came out and said it should never have been a penalty with Mkhitaryan. The protocol was violated. Now he's being put in a position where, as the head of the Referees Association, is he going to come out a second time regarding the same exact team and admit that, there was another violation of protocol here? Or is he going to say, okay, now it's getting to the point where this is really not looking good, and for the sake of my guys, I'm not going to go ahead and back it up, defend it, or anything like that? It's a terrible situation.
If he comes out and says that that's another 100% wrong decision that was made, Antonio Conte can't complain about the referees for the rest of the season. I don't want to hear anything from him, because he said that Bepe's or someone, he doesn't want other people to be influencing the decisions of the referees. That is himself conditioning the referees, saying, don't correct for the mistake that you made. Don't try and start favoring teams because you've made a mistake here. Like, don't punish us for it as well. Like, continue to make calls like this. You can't change now. But Bepe's got to come out and say something again. Like, it needs to change. Sure, you got some wrong. Don't continue with that standard. From here on out, you can start fresh and just be right for the rest of the season, and we'll live with this. I don't want to hear anything about these refs, and I don't think it's favoring a certain team or not, but that's two egregious errors, games in a row against England.
Against Inter. So, I agree with you that I don't think that this is an anti-Inter thing. I think that this is a standard of refereeing that has plummeted, and the instances have happened to take place in Inter games, but
we just create the most. That's the thing. It's like we're in that instance more often than other teams. Like, we create the most XG out of any teams probably for the last 5 seasons. We score in the most goals for the last 5 seasons, every season. We're going to be in that situation a lot, and they're going to have to make those decisions a lot. So just make the right one.
And then we'll live with it. You might have a situation where there's some slight doubt, or there's a bit of dubiousness to it, and then the rest of the league is going to go crazy that now you're favoring Inter because of you got these 2 results. It's just like, it is a shit show. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel that the level of refereeing has just plummeted. It's really not good. And then you have discussion around reviewing second yellows. Like, how is that going to look? It's going to be, you're giving more and more responsibility, but they haven't shown that they have the ability to handle the responsibility that's already on their plate. So, like, what are we doing here? Yeah. It's just opening up more and more controversy. But regardless, Stonewall penalty not given to Inter, the pullback from Comuzzo and Pio. I thought in the first half that was also at the very least reviewable. Comuzzo's not even looking at the ball, and he has Pio completely racked up. And on commentary, they said, it's a bit of going back and forth. One of the players was completely wrapped up. Comuzzo had his whole body around Pio Esposito. Like, that's not 2 players going at it. That's one player bear hugging another to the ground. At the very least, I would have taken a look at that. I didn't like the look of it. But nonetheless, most importantly, instead of letting that instance affect their mentality for the rest of the game, I thought Inter played as well as they had all day in the immediate aftermath of that penalty incident. They immediately, picked up the pace there and started just looking more like and a level of intensity had picked up. They looked a little bit sharper. They looked like they wanted it more, which I think is frankly really important for them to show, because clearly in the last game, the last incident that didn't go their way, they were rattled.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's a part of Kivu trying to change the mentality of this team from, yeah, if you get wronged, it's up to you to change it, right? You can't let something else affect that and rely on someone else to change that. And there's two players that I think really switched immediately after that, both of them in midfield. And it was the two guys around Hakan, actually. I think Hakan was good all game. I don't think he changed much, but Barella wasn't losing the ball as much. He was dribbling through players, he was running with it in transition. And Petar Sucic, his mind, his game just switched to, I'm forward. I'm looking forward. I'm not looking back. I'm not trying to keep possession. I'm trying to create something. I'm trying to do something. And those two, I think, really flipped the game after that happened, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's two different things that needed to occur in order for Inter to break down Fiorentina today. They came up against a Fiorentina that was willing to sit back. And when you have a Lautaro and a Pio, again, they mentioned it on the broadcast, you don't have a lot of players that can get in behind. So what you need is two things in order to drag Fiorentina out of their low block, or at least, show them a threat. You need to show that you have it from long distance, which Hakan, was able to show. And then you need to show that you have the ability to penetrate that back line by running at them. And Sucic, on that second goal, I love that he didn't accept the contact when Mandragora went in on him. I love that he stayed on his feet, and then the magic to he could have torn Komutso's, both knees at that point. He could have torn him to shreds. He sent him for a walk
his underwear definitely was sent just out of the building. He's gone.
That is a humiliation on the pitch that you don't want to ever happen to you. It's something that we know we don't get with a lot of the other players in this team. And I know you mentioned Barella. We'll get to him in a little bit, but let's start our player discussion here with Petar Sucic. First half, I've been saying that this is a rhythm player, that he needs to feel the game, he needs to get into it. First half, I thought there was a lot of that going on, where some things didn't come off for him because of his teammates, not finding him. He was making the run in the half space to get him behind, and there were a couple times Lautaro Di Marco, weren't able to find him. But then in the second half, you talk about the switch getting flipped here. Was this the best Sucic has looked in an Inter jersey so far in his tenure here?
That second 45, absolutely, 100%. To your point of him being a rhythm player, I think we've seen him come on and kind of immediately make an impact as a sub this season, and so I'll push back a little bit on that. But I do agree, this game specifically, he's much more of a marathon runner, like Brozovic is. He's not the Mickey and Hakan who are bursts. Zielinski as well. Like, they're bursts, but, Mickey and Hakan specifically will run more, like Sucic runs a lot. Like, they cover a lot of ground. And so seeing him finally it's almost like a freight train. It started to speed up, and then right when he flipped the switch, there was no stopping him at that point. And I think he hasn't gotten that game time yet where he's going to be able to continue in the game regardless of what's going to happen. And so I was really, really happy that he got that goal when it happened, because I feel like there might have been a change happening for Kivu. Like, I don't know, if he was going to take him off or who he was going to take off, but yeah, he definitely started rolling, and I see this continuing because he is young enough to play 90s back to back. And so we've got a couple more games before the international break that I'm happy to see from him.
With Mickey out, I think part of the conversations that Johnny and I have been having around, Mickey versus Sucic. I've argued that the reason that Kivu has been going with Mkhitaryan is because in terms of just balance, Mickey offers a little bit more of that because to date, Sucic hasn't shown to be exceptionally strong in the tackle. Today was different. Today was a complete, like you talk about, marathon from a box to box type game. This was way different. He was in the duels today. He was winning the tackles. The track downs are always there, but he seemed much more up for it. And frankly, the reality is in the final third, he has much more than Mkhitaryan is able to offer.
So much more.
The drop of the shoulder, the close ball control, the willingness to take someone on, the willingness to pull something like that off from a player who's 21 years old, who's, shoving off Mondrago's tackle and then does that, the cutback on the ball. It's just, it was incredible to see from him today. I think it's going to be really interesting. I don't think Kivu's necessarily been loyal to the Senators, they call them in Italy, the veteran players. I think he has been working in the young players for sure. But it's going to be interesting because if this is a 4-week break from Mkhitaryan, we're going to have a long stretch of games. And we could be looking at a moment where it's like Sucic has been great, Mkhitaryan is back. Is this the official benching of Mkhitaryan, where Sucic takes his rightful place in the team? It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
I hope it is. I really hope it is. Because there was one thing, and I enjoyed the fact that Johnny said this last episode, but he said, like, everyone talks about Mkhitaryan and his recoveries and his defensive duels and everything, but that Mkhitaryan's the cause of those. He loses the ball and he has to make up for it.
Yes.
Sucic was making up for other players' mistakes. He was winning the ball back from other players, missing a pass, getting knocked over. Like Pio lost a couple duels here and there. And that made me so happy. I could get frustrated at, one player, and then I see my midfielder that's supposed to be running up and down the pitch, covering 11 kilometers, doing that and winning the ball back. But then, as he showed in the 70th, 71st minute, that he can score as well. It was so good. And I think I messaged in a group chat. I said, chain snatched. It's gone. Mickey,
yeah,
you're going to have to show something a lot more if we see Petar Sucic like this for the next couple weeks.
Mkhitaryan's real problem is that if Sucic starts to get his legs under him, he has the talent to never give it back. You talk about chain snatch, like he is incredibly talented, and if he's confident in what he's doing and feels like he's settling in, he can do everything that Mkhitaryan does, but to a different degree. I think the other, last point on Sucic, because given the fanboying we're doing here, this could be an entire hour on Sucic, but last point on him, we're going to see him when he makes these appearances and he gets, a full game to work with. We're going to see his name at the top of the kilometers ran charts, like pretty much every time. And I think that that's so crucial in a midfield where, as the games start piling up, Barella and Hakan are going to once again eat so many minutes, and it's just going to be really important to have your third in midfield be a guy that when those legs are getting tired, he has the ability to cover the ground. It's inevitable that there's going to be a bit of a slowdown. So it's really, really important. Again, like 21 years old, run his ass into the ground. Like let him go. We see, clubs around the rest of Europe doing the same thing. So stellar performance.
Yeah, Kivu's playing 6 midfielders as well right now, And honestly, Mkhitaryan could fill in, could finish a game for Hakan. I don't know about actually playing a regista, but if you want someone to run and duel and cover ground, close off spaces and passing lanes and things, and you need to close out a game, and Hakan's looking out of it, you can put Mkhitaryan on. I know he's good at that. Like, I'll give him his flowers for that. But, man, just, like, it's so good to see Sucic step into both sides of the pitch and fill that role.
That's such a good point, because that same role that Zielinski, played today, where he came on late in the game, where we have a lead that's not, that's pretty much at that point insurmountable. That is a great role for Mkhitaryan. Even if the lead was not that great, it's still, if you're defending a lead at home, like, Mickey is a good shout to put it in for the last 15 minutes and let him do his thing, let him chase down everyone in the midfield. That could be the role that suits him as he continues to get older. But of course, that doesn't exist without Sucic putting together performances like what we saw today. Another player, let's go right to the subject of all the pre-match discussion, Jan Bisek at center back. This was the breakout for me. I've been skeptical about Bisek at center back, and I tweeted before the game. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I was nervous about, one, that center back role. You're the spine of the team. You need to be communicative. You need to make sure everyone's in line. Bisek is prone to, losing focus and making a big error. Was that going to be the right position for him? Those mistakes can get minimized when you're, on the outside, but when you're in the middle up against the other team's number one, like, number 9, those mistakes can get amplified. And then, he tends to play off his man a little bit. He doesn't play, tight to you and stick with you. He gives you a little bit of room, and, his athleticism allows him to do that. Is center back the role where you want to have someone that plays that kind of style? And I was unsure about it. But he answered those tonight. That was from the moment he got in there. Ken got behind him one time late in the game, and that's it. For the rest of it, he was exceptional.
Yeah, and that one chance, I'll say this. So it was a mistake kind of letting Ken roll around and get in behind him like that. That's a little bit of his concentration. He's not following him perfectly. But he tracked him down and pressured him. That wasn't the block. It was the actual shot that Sommer had to save. Acerbi and De Vrij don't get there fast enough to rush Keane into making that shot.
Great point.
And that's a huge difference between him playing there and those other two playing there. It's a good thing he passed this test for me. I need to see more, strictly because playing center back isn't just about the high line and being able to cover a great player like Keane has been over the last year and a half. He's got to be able to sit back and defend deep.
Yeah.
And that's where we've seen him make mistakes before. I think that if Kivu can simplify his role in the center, he's got two very intelligent center backs around him that can communicate with him. And I think that's going to help him develop this game in the center if he is going to continue there. But yeah, he's going to be able to fill this role, this higher line with him. It's going to be much better. Speedy, pacey strikers, he's not going to struggle with much. He closed down Ken a couple times,
caught up,
which was great. But there was 2 instances where he and Akanji miscommunicated on who's getting the ball when it's bouncing. Luckily,
that's happened a few times this year with Akanji.
Yeah, luckily Akanji took charge in both of those instances and he got it where it needed to go. But I think, Bisek's going to need to learn that of, okay, I see him there. He's going to take charge. I need to make myself available, not run into him, Yeah. But it was a pass for me. He passed this test for sure.
Yep. Do you think, just strictly talking about their abilities this season, do you think Bisek's ceiling as a center back is higher than what Acerbi and Vrij give?
That's so tough. I am a Catenaccio lover. You know, I love sitting back, 1-0 wins, just frustrating the opponent, being anti-football and making every woke tactical on Twitter hate you. I love those. So I've loved Francesco Acerbi before the last since 2025, I guess I should say. You know, we've seen
Yeah.
that decline because Father Time beats everyone. But I don't think Bisek can surpass Acerbi on that. But if we're talking about the modern game and this high line that Kivu wants to play, absolutely he can surpass both of those guys. I think he can be a player that scares opponents one-on-one. Aerially, if he commits aerially, he's never going to be beaten. There's no striker in the world that can outjump and outperform Bisek in the air.
On
But
either, on a defensive set piece or on an attacking set piece.
Absolutely. So I think that there is a higher ceiling in a certain type of center back. But I do love my 1-0 Catenaccio old Italian frustrating center backs like Acerbi. So it's tough to say. It's
going to be really interesting to see how Kivu decides to do this, because obviously when Bisek plays the way that he did in the second half against USG, when he plays the way that he did today, you do have the veterans Acerbi and De Vrij, but the fact of the matter is the ceiling of your team is higher when you have the most talented players on the pitch. And Bisek is showing that, he's an incredible talent. I think there was, some nerves for Interisti that his stock was plummeting, right? We had turned down €35 million offers in the summer, and then all of a sudden he started this season and he wasn't seeing the pitch. And when he did see the pitch early on in the year, it wasn't great. So now for him to sort of, look like he's regaining some confidence here, look like Kivu is, confident in him to be able to play these roles. Again, we talked about at the top of the pod, this was a big call to make. Can he pass the test? And I would love to see more of Bisek in the center back role moving forward. I think you have to. I think you really have to. You have to allow him. Sorry, my dog's losing it.
Yeah, you're good.
I think you really have to let him develop. By the numbers today, 46 out of 49 passing. We'll take that. 2 for 2 ground duels won. We'll take that. 4 out of 6 aerial duels won. We'll take that. Just a really, really impressive performance from Bisek. And the backline as a whole. I thought Akanji, first half was a little bit shaky as far as the decision making moving forward. But defensively, we know what he does. He was that in the second half, defensively a beast. But also his distribution was much better in the second half. And then Bastoni, shit my pants essentially when it looked like he had pulled his hamstring there late in the game, because I think he's as irreplaceable a player as we have. But another, solid performance from him. These performances look a lot better when, he plays in DiMarco and DiMarco puts in a perfect cross and it goes in, and then you're getting excited for what Bastoni is doing, and also when he himself is able to get the crosses in the box. But just really solid from the back line as a whole today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Bastoni specifically, you're talking about his crosses and his interplay with whoever is that left Mezzala and DiMarco, but all interception today. I think he's loving this high press personally.
Yeah,
because he can read the game well. He can make interceptions.
So
really
he doesn't have to cover as much ground.
Yeah,
yeah.
But he intercepted one of those passes from Dodo, I think, and just sprinted at De Gea. He was like, I'm taking this all the way. It's mine now. And I really wish he could have buried that chance. But yeah, he is irreplaceable. I hope he's okay. I'm glad Kivu took him off. Yeah, it was good from the back line. Really good performance. Especially after the problems that we had in the second half of the Napoli game.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they needed a bounce back today. I thought the clean sheet was really important, especially because, I think part of what you do as a broadcast team is you build narrative. Inter, fifth worst defensive team in Serie A by the numbers, but obviously add context to that, guys, right? The 7 of those goals came in games against Juventus and Napoli where they scored with every shot on target. And it's like, it's not necessarily, that this is a terrible defense. It's that we've had a couple games that have been bad defensively where we just turn off. But I still think the ability and the ceiling for this team to be able to be a good defensive team is definitely there. Somewhere didn't have much to deal with today, so there's not really much to say. There was one cross that he didn't really handle well in the first half, but outside of that, he did his job. Good save on Ken towards the end of the game, so not much to say there. Let's kick it over to the wing backs. DiMarco, full 90.
Again.
Dumfries again, and not looking tired and getting very good defensively. Towards the end of the game, he was shutting Dodo down when Dodo really tried to take him on a few times.
Yeah, I love that our manager is a former left back. It's kind of incredible that he's been able to kind of flip this switch. Not only flipping the switch kind of defensively, because we've seen him improve in that sense first game, but really being able to finish these full 90s and run up and down the pitch. The fitness change is incredible. And I think that has led to his confidence defensively, right? Because if you're able at the end of games to defend against dead legs, like that's when you're going to be able to defend a little bit better. When their ideas aren't coming off, and then you can build confidence because you're defending well. And so, there was a couple passes and a couple of like pick and runs Dodo wanted to do that just stood in the way. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you trying this?
He could have had a goal today too. The XG on that shot in the first half actually was not that impressive. I definitely think that was probably should have been a much higher XG, but I guess the statisticians don't think so. But that was a really good chance for him in the first half.
It was a little far away, wasn't it? Like it was right at the box. I think that might have been conditioning
in the box, but he should have put it away. He definitely should have put it away. But De Gea was incredible today, which is to be expected when it comes to Inter and goalkeepers giving the performances of their lives. I think the other important note to make about DiMarco, when you are no longer thought of as the late game defensive liability, like, hey, we're defending a lead, we have to get this guy out, like it's the 75th minute, let's not take chances. It's a really good spot for a player to not have to have that hanging over their head, and like they're the liability on the pitch. Like that does affect your confidence. And that's not the case with DiMarco anymore. Dumfries, a very active participant today. Did not, have it against Napoli. There's been a couple games where it wasn't great. But today, really, really solid. Should have scored again.
Yeah.
De Gea,
Oh, man, also, Dumfries, is that scissor kick kind of becoming a trademark for him? Because I think that's great. Almost his third scissor kick goal in this calendar year, if I'm not mistaken. I know there was the one against Barcelona, but that shot deserved to go in. He struck that sweetly.
Yeah, it looks great, and he's such a good athlete. And I think he's not really being pushed by Luis Enrique, and that could also be affecting his overall performances this season. Like, you got to have competition. We've seen what it's done for the rest of the players in the team. But today was definitely a bounce back performance from him. He was an obvious threat back there. And on his day, he's so difficult to deal with. The folks that play Football Manager 26 are losing it over how good of a striker Dumfries is. His stats are amazing in the game. I think they're starting to stick him up there as a number 9. We've seen position changes for a number of players in our team, including the player that we're going to get to next. Maybe Dumfries becomes a 9 to end his career.
Well, I mean, Inzaghi had him as a right winger, basically. So, he did run a lot more today. I wasn't really thrilled with his technical play today, and that's I think that has to do with Kivu wanting him more involved. And I can't say that him not being involved being involved in the build-up more is a good thing. It does give an extra body in build-up, but I think there can be a solution made there to kind of minimize Dumfries' deficiencies, because a little bit of those are coming back. But he ran a lot better today, defended better today, and and was much more of a threat in attack. So it was better.
I feel like a lot of that also has to do with who his strikers are, because when it's Thuram that's able to make the run in behind, and Dumfries can just kind of play that one touch to the trailing runner, it's Thuram or Boni. Like it looks a lot better than when the ball comes to him. You have no one making the run in behind. He has to sort of stall before making a decision to cross the box or lay it back off to Barella or Akanji, who's right behind him. So I do.
That's fair. He doesn't have that chemistry with Boni yet either, and I think Boni really needs to help him there and kind of learn. You can't just sit on the left side. If to help out build up on both sides, you got to help Dumfries out there. Yeah. So I agree.
Yep. Hand up. I called for Hakan to be subbed after that first half. It just looked like one of those games where, he's been playing a lot recently. I don't want to fault him for looking a little bit behind the 8 ball in the first half. But second half, he turned it up. And it's not just the goal. It's not just what he's able to do from the penalty spot, which is incredible. I think that's 25 out of 26 in Serie A, which is just it's different with penalties these days. It's not automatic. What he's doing from there is special. What he did to score an absolute banger is special, but also in the second half, he was stopping counters. He had to get down to do it. And that's the kind of player that he is, when it comes to Inter in the defensive transition. It's not a matter of him catching up to you with speed and muscling you off the ball. It's, timing tackles. And in the second half, it looked much better. A really complete performance from Çalhanoğlu, who puts in another 90 minutes and definitely is in line for a rest. It's Verona next, I believe, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think maybe we sit down for that one.
Yeah, I think Kivu can kind of mess with the midfield there and get someone to fill that role. I mean, Zielinski playing there would be perfect because you're planning on controlling the game the whole time.
He has to want to play there, though, according to Kivu.
Yeah. But back to Hakan. I didn't dislike his first half. I think he was the best in the midfield in the first half. My issue was actually his first 15 minutes, which is funny because he's been playing so many minutes, and it was the first 15, 20 minutes that I had an issue with because he wasn't tracking back. Yeah. And Patrick Kendrick even mentioned it. You're talking about those narratives that you're trying to create during the game just to kind of get people in the game, but also, he
had a few
poke the needle,
Yeah.
But Hakan, he was right. He wasn't running back. Like he didn't do it against Napoli, but as the game progressed, he started to get, he realized that he needed to track back. He is that position. But yeah, that goal, that screamer, I think he's scored more of those long distance goals this season than he scored penalties, which is typically the other way around.
He scored several shouts for a goal this season already.
Yeah.
A few rounds into this thing, he's got several of them that he can add to his highlight reel. Yeah,
he's doing. I want to look up just his stats on the season. I don't know if it has included this past match. It has. So he has 5 goals in the league already.
Yep.
3 of them screamers and 2 penalties. That's incredible. That's wild. I mean, he's on track for. There's no way he keeps up this rate, but he could get close to 15 goals, 10, 15 goals this season from the regista position, and that's all down to Kivu, in my opinion, because he's the one that mentioned it in the offseason. I want more shots from outside the box, and who better to take those than Hakan Çalhanoğlu? It was great, and that second half was great.
They wanted to let him go for 10 mil. Some Interisti wanted him out for 10
mil.
I'll
throw my hands up and say apologies. I didn't want him gone for 10 million. I did say that Inter's 20 or 25 million valuation.
Yep.
They shouldn't drop that. Like, there's no way you let him go for less than that. You have to get that. But just if he wanted to go, I was like, yeah, let him go. If he's ready to go, let him go. But there's no way I'm letting him go for 10 million. That's crazy. That's insane.
Not when he still has these performances in him.
Oh, yeah. No, he's shutting me up as well. Like, he's making me look ridiculous for even considering 25 million for this guy. Casemiro went for what? 50 million at 31? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't seen Casemiro do some of the things that Hakan does.
Not at all.
Definitely not stepping up to the penalty spot, but he won the most duels in the match. Seven duels won. Like we said, another 90 in the books for a player that's having an outstanding season. Barella, the other man in the midfield that we haven't touched on here. First half, a lot was not coming off for him. It was one of those things where I was what kept coming to my mind was it's got to be the conditions. That's the reason that some of these balls weren't coming off for him, because typically he's much sharper than that. In the second half, it felt like he had a lot more space to work with, and that Dumfries was maybe making some more aggressive runs in behind that allowed him to have some space in that right half space. But what are your thoughts on Nicolo's match today at home?
Yeah, the first half, I agree, was super frustrating, and the second half, complete change. I just think that he was able to protect the ball better, and Barella is going to be very happy when he has the time to kind of do what he wants to do. He can do these tricks and these flicks and quick passes and things, and when they're coming off, great. But when he actually has the time to run with the ball, look up and find somebody, that's when he's going to be happiest. And so he was actually able to get that in that second half, and you could see that it changed kind of his just joy on the pitch, ready to play more. So
it's really good too. It's really, I think it's a positive for the team that it feels like he's dropping back a lot more to assist Chala in the build-up, and not strictly, like, his role kind of changes throughout the game, right? Sometimes he's playing the Mazzala role, sometimes he's dropping deep and is acting like a regista, which ultimately I think is where he ends up when it is time to move off of Hakan. I think Barella ends up becoming the regista. If we move forward with a three-man midfield and not switch to a 3-4-2-1, I think that's where we end up seeing Barella. So for a player who I was seeing the tweets after the first half, people were really down on him. The numbers don't look great either, like 75% passing, but the threat of him trying to create stuff is also something that opens up space. The danger of him trying to play stuff in behind, it has an impact on the game even when it doesn't come off. So really positive from Barella. So 90s for Çalhanoğlu and Sucic, 85 minutes for Barella. That midfield configuration coming up this weekend is got to look different. Just from we're heading into the point of the season where these games are going to pile up, and Fratesi, Zielinski, possibly even Juve, if we ever see him again, needs to be ready for some minutes here.
That's a good one, Alessandro. That's really good. That's funny.
Yeah. Just in case anyone forgot about him, there is another midfielder in the team. Oh, your boy Mosconi got called up. Maybe we'll see him with Mkhitaryan out. Maybe he'll get some minutes.
If that happens, great. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
We'd
I
have to
agree.
we'd have to be 3-0 up a lot earlier though.
Right.
Not scoring at the
Heading into the
67th
half.
minute.
Heading into the
Yeah.
half. Pio Esposito gets the start alongside Lautaro instead of Bonni today. Interesting call from Kivu. He has said how interchangeable these forwards are. I thought the touch was a little heavier today, but the rest of his game is what it always is, which is Komutsu couldn't do anything to him. Like he
Mm-mm.
from a man to man perspective, he owned him. Like he was the stronger
Yeah.
player. Like he Go ahead.
Pio Pio definitely knew who to target all day today as well. He just bullied Kamutso all day long, which was great. And yeah, his touch was off. I think that was conditioned more of how Fiorentina was set up because they wanted to sit deep, and so any touch that got away from Pio, he didn't have the time to go recover it like he has in a couple other games. Like being an outlet and you're alone up there, you've got the space to kind of let that touch get away from you a little bit. But today that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a good overall game from him. Frustrating for sure. Not his best, but a good shift nonetheless.
I would say it's a really great shift. We won the ball high up the pitch or even in the middle of the pitch a lot because they had to continue to foul him. And to Patrick Kendrick, saying Esposito shouldn't have been complaining to the referee when he got that yellow card. It's like, hey man, he hasn't been able to breathe all game. Like they've been trying to wrestle him to the ground and not really play football with him all game. Like that's not, that's going to get to anyone. But again, he continues to show the maturity week in and week out. More minutes for him, hopefully coming. Despite the fact that it's looking like Thuram is going to be back this weekend, which I think we need because let's head over to our captain here, Lautaro Martinez. Tough game for him. There was a point in time. The work rate is always there. He gets the assist for the Sucic goal, despite the fact that Sucic invented that himself. But there was a point in time where I thought to myself, this version of Lautaro today is not going to be this version of De Gea. The way that De Gea was playing and the way that Lautaro was playing, I was like, get him off the pitch because he's not going to be able to put one away. 89 minutes of working hard, but I guess the question to you is, it's been a rough couple games for Lauti. Past two fixtures. Where are you at with him? Because you can put some blame on him for what happened against Napoli, given that he couldn't put away his chances and that he also disappeared after starting a row with Conte. And then today he didn't have much to work with as far as chances are concerned, but it never looked like it was going to come off for him today.
Yeah, it's been frustrating, especially because we hold him to such a high standard. He is the captain. He's what, number 4 all time for Inter goal scorers, number 5. He is the player we turn to in these moments. And I think he's getting into his head a little bit, and you could see that today. And just like the rest of the team, when that second half rolled around and they flipped the switch, I think he was actually able to control the ball a little bit more. I know there was a funny moment actually where he tried to dribble around. I think it was Pablo Mari, or VT. It was VT, and just dribbled it right out of the pitch, out of touch.
Yep. That's literally when I tweeted, "Get him off the pitch now."
Yeah.
That's the exact moment.
It was. Yeah, I don't think that today was his best. He tried to play as a number 9 too much. And he didn't drop deep. He didn't get himself into the game. I think he was a little bit of a passenger today. But I also think that kind of helped a little bit with Pio because he had someone next to him. And there's a couple times where Pio's header actually sent him off and running.
Yep.
And he created some chaos, which is good. And yeah, his effort never lacking. And
do you think he needs Thuram?
I think Thuram knows how to get him a goal. is the thing. So if Lautaro's not creating something for himself, or like the touch around the box is just off a little bit, the only player right now that can get him going is Thuram. Like Boni, I don't think knows exactly what Lautaro wants. Kio's just going to be a bull up front. He can get the ball to Lautaro, but maybe not in the best position. So I do think we'll see a better Lautaro when Thuram comes back. So yeah, I guess to answer that question, yes, but Lautaro can do it without Thuram.
I think that these forwards are interchangeable, but I don't think that you can just create chemistry out of nowhere with Boni and Pio the way that Thuram and Lauti have had. And I agree with you completely. Like, I think Thuram knows what Lauti needs. And I think Lauti knows what Thuram needs. So, here's the hoping Lauti comes back soon. Boni came on the pitch, wins a penalty, looks dangerous as ever. It wasn't a great game against Napoli, but outside of that, he's been essentially perfect this season. And, let's just call it what it is. Yet another goal contribution. That penalty was softer than the Comuzzo drag down of Pio.
Yes, it was. I mean, it's the thing is that you can't ignore a last man tackle in the box like that. If you don't give that, even if there was, like a shoelace that tripped up Boni, and to all the Napoli fans, if you guys listen to this, there was contact, so it is a penalty. Even though it was soft, you can't ignore that one.
No. I'm just looking at the clock here. I definitely want to answer these questions that came in for us. We'll just very quickly talk about the subs. I'll give my takes on all of this, and then if you just want to follow it up. So Carlos Augusto, all the subs came after the 78th minute, which is pretty late than what we've been seeing from Kivu this season. So it's interesting that he had his guys hold on for as long as they did. Carlos Augusto comes in, plays right wing back. It was not Luis Enrique. That was the first option at right wing back off the bench. Maybe something to look for. Zielinski comes in the left Mezzala role, kicks Sucic over to the right. I agree that that's what needs to happen. Fratesi comes in for Lautaro and plays striker essentially. So let's see what's going on there. They're talking about on the broadcast like, we haven't seen it as much of Fratesi. I mean, he was one of the first subs off the bench against Napoli and we played a huge chunk of that game. You might have forgotten about it because he wasn't that involved, but that is the case. He was one of the first options off the bench. And then Luis Enrique, there's nothing to say. I don't know that he touched the ball. Actually, I'm curious. Did he touch the ball?
He got a couple touches. Yeah. He just passed it to Barella, though. He didn't take a man on.
Probably the right move for him.
Yeah. No, all those players, I mean, Carlos Augusto shutting a game down, there's no one better to bring on for that purpose, and then filling in for Bastoni when he went off. Zielinski, again, brings control to the midfield. If you're in the lead that comfortably, and against Fiorentina struggling, that's the right person. And then Fratesi playing striker, I made the joke that this is Immobile reincarnated, especially with Di Marco almost giving him an assist there at the end of the game. I was like, that's just Immobile running directly into the box to finish a chance.
That's one of those things where they passed up the more obvious pass to try to get their boy a goal because they know he needs it.
But nothing much to say on all of them. But they came. Luis Enrique. They came in, they did their thing, late subs. So Kivu actually made the right call there with the late subs because the main guys are the ones that scored the goals. But they did their thing, got some of those players off the pitch, which is good.
Yeah. All right, let's hit these comments rapid fire here. Marco Morelli, first up, great call from Kivu. This is what we need: pace in the back line plus Bisec's real aerial dominance. First half, he was great. Hopefully, he can push on. Forza Bistecca. This is the back three and midfield I want to see from now on. This was talked about a lot. People wanted Bisec in the center. They wanted Sucic in the midfield. This was our first glance at it. It looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was a success. Absolutely the right call from Kivu. took a chance, and it was right.
A person 1352. Apart from his penalties, it's safe to say Hakan only scores bangers. Either way, he's the best CDM in the league by a mile. Apart from Barella, love the pod. I hope the Napoli fans aren't listening because I know they're going to try to shove.
That's exactly
Lobotka.
what I thought. Yep. Yeah. Different type of a regista, but yeah, I'll take my Hakan.
Yeah, I definitely will take Hakan here.
And yeah, he only scores bangers. Like, you don't need him to do anything else. Kivu asked him to shoot from out there.
I missed it so much because there was a period of time where it wasn't coming off for him. At Banana Pudini. For every day the Serie A refs miss an obvious penalty decision. Jesus. Not going to read the rest of that. De Gea, man of the match by a mile. I understand Lauti is the captain and you want him out there as a vote of confidence and spark to the squad, but why not off the bench? I don't think he should play this weekend. Acerbi and De Vrij, two of the most senior players in the team, rested the entirety of this game, and it was against Fiorentina. Against Verona, Thuram should be coming back. You can give him the end of the game, and Boni and Pio should be able to handle Verona.
Yeah. The only thing, like, when you do that, you want one of your captains on the pitch. And so it's either you start Lautaro or you start Barella. I agree. Lautaro might need a little bit of rest, and it might be good. We'll see what Kivu does, though, because I think this next rotation is going to be interesting with the lineup that he went with today. You're going to put a technical midfield in with Acerbi or De Vrij behind them? Or is it going to be Pio and Boni? The young strikers against the two young strikers at Verona as well. Giovanni and Gift Orban. Yeah.
Not a big fan of his, not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, don't need to comment on his game too much, but yeah, he's just, he's quick. So
I want to knock on wood here. That's what you're hearing because we're playing him next.
Yeah.
Superstitious.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen Lautaro come on as a sub in games like this. I mean, the Salernitana game is, of course, the most memorable one. So,
Yep. Peter Jordan, well played. Bisek got caught a few times, but he should take confidence from the fact that Kivu trusts him in an important game for sure. Sucic, what a goal. Great second half performance. Need the strikers to score versus Verona. And most of all, what the hell was that tackle on Esposito? So, we talked about it. I think the one thing to comment on here, need the strikers to score versus Verona 100%. Because now they haven't.
It's just two games, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that. It's a good thing that you have your midfield able to step up in those moments. Big teams, sometimes your strikers don't score. So it's a good thing that they were there. Yeah, we could have had both wingbacks score as well. But Yep. Got to have one of the strikers score next game.
At Izu24__. This is an interesting one. Game of two halves. What do you think of Bastoni playing as a regista for a chunk of the game? 100%. He definitely stepped inside and was playing was occupying the same areas that we're typically used to seeing. Do you think the situation yesterday and the rain affected the first half? Strikers looked dead. Lauti should be given the ball to his feet more. I'll let you take all this.
I'll start with the Lautaro point. He's got to drop deep if you want the ball at his feet. Fiorentina was sitting deep. They're cutting passing lanes, so you have to go over the top. You have to throw in crosses. That's not the ball to his feet. If he wants the ball at his feet, he's got to ask for it. He's got to go run for it. Sucic and even Pio doing some step overs, letting the ball run by him. Tried to get Lautaro the ball to his feet, just wasn't coming off today. And then what was the other point? The other part
Bastoni as a regista, and then did
yeah.
the situation yesterday and the rain affect them in the first half?
I think so. The rain was pouring before the game and during the first half, and that just makes up. Yeah, I think that makes it difficult to control the ball. It's great for shooting. It's difficult for actual football gameplay. Bastoni, the psychological impact of what happened yesterday, I'm sure it was on their minds, and the longer the game goes on, the ability to kind of detach from that starts to happen. And then Bastoni setting up right in the middle, I think that was a wrinkle from Kivu. It allowed Hakan and Barella to go out wider and Sucic to kind of roam, all three of them to roam in front of
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, it
Kicked
was.
DiMarco inside too.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Sucic was left on an island on the left-hand side of the pitch a few times. So definitely some wrinkles from Kivu there just to try to manipulate the defense by, putting players in a position that you don't expect them to be in.
Mhm.
All right, let's get to these speak pipes. First up, the infamous, the one and only Gino Panino.
Great bounce back game by Kivu in the Inter team. Well-deserved victory over Fiorentina. Could have got a few more. BS non-PK call on the clothesline on Pio in the box. What a joke. Worried about Lautaro and his fitness and his ability to finish. Didn't look as sharp as he normally did. Regardless, great team effort, and we move on. Staying close to the top of the table. Forza Inter. Long time no talk, boys. Gino Panino live from Vancouver. Love what you guys are doing. Keep it up. Hope to hear more from you guys soon. Forza Inter always.
Thank you, Gino Panino. You're the man. And, we talked about a lot of what Gino was saying there, but the one thing that we didn't really touch on was staying close to the top of the table. So there's been 3 losses so far this season, and we are only 1 result behind Napoli. One weekend where they pick up an L and we pick up a win, and we're right there, which is not, there's folks calling for Kivo to be fired already. And we're 3 points behind the league leaders. So, while in the moment it feels like the sky is falling down, you got to take a long-term view to the fact that this is a 38 game championship and a whole lot of things can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I understand wanting, especially some of those losses, to probably be draws, right? If you turn those losses into draws, especially the Udinese loss, you're a little bit closer. You can pass up those teams on a favorable result. But yeah, they drop points. We're right there. It's a good position to be in. You said at the beginning of the recording that this was a must-win game. We won it, and we're still there, and we're pushing. We're top 4 right now, not tied on points for 5th and 6th, but ahead of 5th and 6th. And I would rather wins with a loss than drop these 2 draws in a row.
Yeah.
I'll take a win and a loss than 2 draws.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I also would rather be in the position to chase. It's been 4 years where the expectation is we're supposed to blow this championship out of the water, and they clearly haven't handled being the front runner very well. Like I'm fine with having to chase down. I think that's a different position that these guys are in, and it's psychologically it's different. It's different when the expectation is that you guys are supposed to win and you're holding off the pack. It's different to be the hunter instead of the hunted. It's a different mentality. And, I don't mind this season. Like, let's hunt. Let's go hunting. I think this team needs it, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Last one from Intertwined.
Hey guys, Intertwined here. Great win today. Just what the doctor ordered. That's what I wanted to see, a reaction to the loss over the weekend, and we didn't hang our heads even after the blown PK that we didn't get again. But this shows the work that Key was doing with the guys mentally. They continued to push on and then got the result, and in the end did it in style. So happy for Sucic to get his first goal, and we're right behind the league leaders right now. So I'm feeling pretty good going into the weekend and next week. Hopefully we get Toronto back soon.
For sure, positive vibes. You talked about heading into the weekend. Apologies to the Roma fans. No disrespect. We're also 3 points behind Roma. I completely forgot about you up there. Very quietly, also tied for the top of the table. But just looking at this weekend, man, Napoli, Como. Como's sitting in fifth, undefeated in their last 5. 3 draws, but picked up a good win today. Milan and Roma, they're clashing. That's another top of the table clash. And then Inter's got Verona. If we do our job, we could find ourselves up there by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Milan Roma, I think, is going to be really important because Milan is going to want to try and separate themselves from especially Juve and some of those teams behind them. So expect them to come out guns blazing. Allegri is not going to want to lose that game. He's going to want to send a message. And yeah, I have them in my top 4 in my prediction at the beginning of the season. I didn't think that this was going to be the way they did it. One goal wins. But yeah, they're doing it. They're going to be there all season. Maybe, I don't know about tied for first, but they're going to be a tough team all year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the goal differential here, so Inter, clear with a +11. Roma's at a +6. Napoli's at a +8. Como's at a +6. Juventus is at a +3. Milan's at a +7. So, there's some teams that just in the goal differential, they're all around each other, and the points are not too far from each other. I mean, this 1 through 10 here, I mean, everyone is within a game of each other, which is how it's supposed to look in a competitive league. Okay, Bayern's
in the best league in the world.
In the best league in the world, exactly. Bayern's blowing away the competition over in the Bundesliga, but where you really want to watch is Serie A. We're not going to say anything about that probably.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about those island people.
Neither you or I. The island boys. All right, Sean. Thank you so much for jumping on. Really happy that InterViews and Inter Extra were able to collaborate on this podcast. Tell the people where they can go ahead and see you next.
Yeah, so like Alessandro said, I am one half of the co-hosting duo at Inter Extra podcast. So I'm going to throw everything over to them. If you follow me on Twitter, you already knew a lot of the things that I was probably going to say today. But so on Twitter at Inter_Extra. We are on YouTube as well. So go subscribe to us on YouTube again at Inter Extra _extra. And then, we'll be a little late this week, but we'll be dropping a pod soon as well, Simi and I. So you'll find us there later this week.
Yeah, I highly recommend you guys go listen to that. And, Interisti, you've got some really good English language content here where you get a lot of, previews and post-match reactions from Sharma. Obviously, you've got InterViews pod post-match reaction. And then during the week to wrap up on all the news, you've got Inter Extra. So it's just a good, very good companion content here where you're pretty much your service with all your needs all throughout the week. So thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I've been loving this. 160 episodes, you said?
168.
168, yeah. And I've listened to every single one. Like, it's been incredible. I love having, you guys and Sharma after game. It's good to kind of fill in the rest of that with the news. So again, thanks for having me on. Hopefully we can get you back on again as well.
Yeah. The people don't know that Sean and I recorded a 2-hour Inter Extra that unfortunately we weren't able to post. But
all my
we'll
fault.
Definitely be doing this. We'll be knock on wood that same situation is not going to happen to us here.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for jumping on, man. In the words of the great Roberto Scarpini, forza ragazzi, forza ragazzi, forza ragazzi.